You ready to light paint? If you love light, this is going to be fun. So you need three main things. You need some sort of camera or a smartphone, some sort of tripod. If you don't have a tripod, you can use something like books and stand your phone up. And then you're going to need, whatever it is, you need to be able to do long exposure. So either with your camera, there's apps that you can do long exposure with your phone. So that's the next thing you need is a flashlight or something that emits light that you can paint with. So now I'm going to go over some of the things that we use to light paint with. You get as creative as you want. You can use just a simple flashlight and just show light at the camera, and you can still paint with that. Now I'm going to come back tonight and we're going to demonstrate a lot of this. But I wanted to show you during the daytime what some of these things look like, because I want to thank Light Painting Brushes for sponsoring us and giving us some tools to work with to light paint. They are a great company to get a startup kit if you want like professional tools to do your light painting. Alright, so the one thing that makes their kit so cool is this thing called the Universal Connector. What that does is it allows a standard flashlight to go in here and then to hook to any of their little toys here. Like this is what we call a light pen, and it screws on. So I can use this to write with, and I'll show you tonight how that looks, but you can write your name with this. Alright, so then you take this off and say you want to do a lightsaber or a light sword. You screw the universal connector back onto this. And then you can make cool little designs with this. Again, I'll show you all that fun stuff tonight. So again, with this universal connector, it fits also a water bottle. Just your standard water bottle. So you can put lights in here and do even cool stuff. Again, you're going to get some fun effects. So it allows you to work with any bottle. This is what we call a portrait lens. So I'll show you, it'll light your subject up when you run that over them. We've got the light pens. Here's another thing that you're probably going to learn about is fiber optics, where light travels from the flashlight into the ends of these. So you'll get to see how that works tonight. And then they can even make cool things because this is a unicorn rod. And again, we screw it into the connector here. And then we're going to shine light, and that's going to make some neat effects that we're going to get to see later. Here's another thing they have called a hood, and this just lights up the area. You again put that on, and you can light up the ground. That color is orange. I've got another color here, purple. So that's all kind of stuff from Light Painting Brushes. Then I've taken their universal connector, and I took just a PVC pipe and I drilled some holes in it to see what that would do, and then put this little piece on, and this makes some cool light effects. This is the great thing about light painting. You get to create your own tools and find out how it creates. Here's another thing I did at our 3D printing collab. I cut out a piece of plastic here, and I even painted it blue with a Sharpie. And I used this universal connector, and I can make cool little signals with this. Makes like a triangle effect. So that's a lot of the stuff we'll use tonight. Here's another thing that emits light. It's called a fiber fly, or some people call it a light whip. It looks like a whip, like a horse whip. And it's all fiber optics. And you turn this light on, and it has all different colors. It makes crazy patterns too. That's a popular thing with light painting. And then I had a friend that showed me about how to make orbs. You can just spin something around like this in a circular motion and just turn around, and you can get like an orb effect. But that's not going to be perfect, and I wanted it perfect. So I asked this other light painter how they did the orbs, and he showed me something where he had an old crank from an old car and these rods, and I couldn't understand it all. So I got my brother-in-law to look at this. And he does a little machine shop work, and he made this for me. Now, of course, all the light painters want one, but he promised me he was only doing it for me, and then that was it. So I can't get one of these for all the other light painters, but you can design your own. And basically, it's that same concept. You have a rod that turns around, and it has a light at the top, and you can even put one at the bottom. And I have something that holds on to it. So then we put another ball on this. Sorry, I'm going all around in circles. And I'm using a combination of a light painter's kit that he makes these balls for. And we mounted it on this rack. And you can even see we used a USB button here to turn the switch on. Lots of cool things, as creative as you want. And I'll show you this fun thing tonight. And there's one more item that I haven't shown you that I've seen a lot of light painters use, and that's called the Magelite. And particularly my friend Jess Kruger and her husband Andy, they like to do that with science images. Jess Kruger is in Dr. Mark Summers' group, and they work with a lot of monkeys, they work with mice, and they see a lot of neuron images of the brain. So you're going to see that in some of the light painting. And basically what they do with that Magelite, it's similar to this long light like this sword. And they program in a picture. And that picture, then they can just take that and light paint it across the wall, and you have that image of that science image. The other thing the Magelite can do in these swords, you can do circular motions, which are kind of cool. So I'll show you some of those techniques tonight. And I'm just going to go over a few basics. But the light painting brushes, whether you use their tools or not, they give you great tutorials on that site. From everything from taking your first light painting photograph, to using a cell phone, to how to paint a flower, how to paint a light paint of a person. They show you all these cool techniques, and that's where I got a lot of my experience from. And I hope you enjoy the rest of this. Come back more for the light painting tonight. Thank you. We're ready to light paint. It's nighttime. I've got a fire going here just to give us a little light here on the situation. So you wanted to see what some of these toys look like at night. All right, again, you see this is that universal connector that I was telling you about that we're going to screw into some things. So these are the light pins that I was showing you. I'm going to screw in the universal connector. Then we'll put my light with it. And you can see I could write my letters here. You cut it off, write another letter. And the thing about writing with these, you got to write backwards. So we'll show you some examples, pictures of what that looks like. This is a little toy here. Just a little light toy that I have. But you can do different things. You can spin it around. Get some good little side effects out of that. All right, and the fiber optics. People are wanting to see that. We've got a red color on it here. And again, I need to put the universal connector on it. And see how it comes out with red at the end here. And you can do little things like this around your model. Let's see, any other, oh, another thing was the lightsaber. You want to see what the lightsaber looks like. Put the universal connector on. Ta-da! You get all kinds of cool effects with the lightsaber like this. And then I had told you about the hood, which shines light down on your ground or your background, whatever that would be, the woods. Here's an orange hood. It's got an orange color filter in it. I'm going to put the universal connector on it. And then I can shine, like here on the table, you see how it's the orange light? I'd be lighting that surface up. These are all little techniques you can use for the light painting. I mentioned about the portrait mode. Again, hook it to the universal connector. And this you would use on your model, so you would roll it over their face and you would light them up. Again, all of these things are working with the camera on long exposure, and once you get done drawing with the light, you see what that looks like. So, I'll be back in a minute and I'll show you how some of it works on the camera. So you ready to try out the Orb Maker? Alright, this is that homemade Orb Maker where you have a crank here that turns it. You have a middle section here where this is a rod on the end that spins around while I hold this handle. So I'm going to turn and spin. Now I mentioned that you could put lights on the end. You could put lights anywhere on this. We put something from an artist called Dennis Smith. He does the ball of light. That's on the end here. And I'm going to turn it on so you can see what it looks like. So that little ball is one way of doing it. But if you don't want to use other people's artwork, here is what I call a little bicycle light. It goes on the handlebars, latches around. If you can zoom in on that, I'm going to turn it on. And see, it even blinks, which can do other cool effects. But I'm going to wrap this around so it's now on my Orb Maker, and it's in the middle. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to do something kind of cool and leave this homemade piece, and I'm going to turn the bottom piece on. We're going to have different kind of lights and see what they do here. All right, so pause and then we'll come back. All right, I'm starting the long exposure. I've already done my focusing. And I'm going to do two different things. I'm going to do a flashy, blinky light. I'm also going to turn on the ball of light. And now we're going to spin it around and see what we create with this. I go around the full cycle. And sometimes, depending on how you want your lights to look, you can go 2 or 3 times around in a circle. Stop this. And we're going to see what the exposure looks like right now. So I stop the exposure. And let's see what we have. And because I did a smaller orb, I moved the little light in closer to the center. It makes it look like there's an orb within another orb. So you can get creative and see what you want to do. Thanks for joining us.